Have you ever noticed how anxiety feels like it's constantly running in the background of your mind, like a computer program you can't shut down? You wake up in the morning and before you even open your eyes fully, there it is, that familiar tightness in your chest, that voice whispering about everything that could go wrong today. You check your phone and immediately feel overwhelmed by messages, notifications, deadlines. You go through your day, and anxiety follows you like a shadow, commenting on every interaction, every decision, every moment of silence. You try to outrun it with productivity. You try to numb it with distractions. You try to think your way out of it with logic and reasoning, but nothing seems to work. The anxiety always comes back, sometimes even stronger than before. But what if I told you that there's an ancient practice developed over 2,000 years ago that doesn't try to fight anxiety, doesn't try to suppress it, doesn't try to convince you that everything will be okay, but instead does something so counterintuitive, so radically different from everything our modern minds tell us to do, that anxiety literally cannot survive in its presence? What if the solution to your anxiety isn't in doing more, but in doing something so fundamentally different that it rewires the very way your brain creates anxiety in the first place? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you has been scientifically validated, has transformed millions of lives across centuries, and most importantly, it actually works when nothing else seems to. Let me start by telling you about something that happened to me a few years ago. I was at the peak of my anxiety. I had tried everything: therapy, medication, exercise, journaling, positive affirmations, breathing techniques, you name it. Some things helped temporarily, but the anxiety always came back. I remember sitting in my car one day, completely overwhelmed, my heart racing, my thoughts spiraling, and I had this realization that shocked me. I realized that I had been fighting anxiety the same way for years, and the fight itself was making it worse. Every time I tried to push the anxiety away, it pushed back harder. Every time I tried to convince myself not to worry, I worried more about the fact that I was worrying. I was stuck in this exhausting cycle, and I didn't know how to get out. That's when I discovered this Buddhist practice, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it changed everything. The practice I'm talking about is called Vipassana, which literally means to see things as they really are. Now, before you click away thinking this is going to be some mystical religious sermon, let me be crystal clear. This is not about converting to Buddhism. This is not about believing in anything supernatural. This is about understanding a profound psychological truth that the Buddha discovered through direct observation of the human mind, a truth that modern neuroscience is now confirming with brain scans and research studies. The Buddha was essentially an ancient psychologist who figured out something about the nature of suffering and anxiety that we're only now beginning to fully understand with our modern technology. Here's the fundamental insight that everything else builds on. Anxiety isn't actually caused by the things you think it's caused by. I know that sounds crazy because it feels so real when you're anxious about a presentation, or a relationship, or money, or health. It feels like those external things are creating your anxiety. But here's what's actually happening, and this is where it gets really interesting. Your anxiety isn't caused by the future event you're worried about. Your anxiety is caused by your relationship with your own thoughts and sensations in this present moment. Let me say that again because it's crucial. Anxiety doesn't live in the future, even though it feels like it does. Anxiety lives right here, right now, in the way you're relating to your present moment experience. Think about it this way. When you're anxious about something that might happen tomorrow, where is that anxiety actually occurring? It's occurring right now. The thoughts are happening now. The tightness in your chest is happening now. The racing heart is happening now. The future hasn't happened yet, so it can't actually be causing your anxiety. What's causing your anxiety is what your mind is doing right now with thoughts about the future. This distinction might seem subtle, but it's actually revolutionary, because it means that you don't have to change your external circumstances to change your anxiety. You don't have to fix the future. You don't have to make everything okay. You just have to change your relationship with what's happening right now. This is where Vipassana comes in, and this is why anxiety can't survive it. Vipassana is the practice of observing your present moment experience with complete equanimity. Equanimity means observing without reacting, without judging, without trying to change what you're observing. You simply watch it like you would watch clouds passing in the sky. You don't try to push the clouds away. You don't try to hold on to the clouds you like. You just watch them come and go. And here's the key insight that makes this practice so powerful against anxiety. Anxiety survives and thrives on your reaction to it. Every time you react to an anxious thought, by believing it, by engaging with it, by trying to solve it, by trying to push it away, you're feeding the anxiety. You're telling your brain that this thought is important, that it's dangerous, that it requires attention, and your brain, trying to be helpful, gives you more of those thoughts. Let me give you a concrete example. You have a thought, what if I fail at this project? If you're not practicing Vipassana, here's what typically happens. You have that thought, and immediately you react. You might start catastrophizing. If I fail this project, I'll lose my job, and if I lose my job, I won't be able to pay rent, and then I'll end up homeless. Or you might try to reassure yourself, no, I won't fail, I'm prepared, I've done this before. Or you might try to distract yourself by checking your phone or eating something or watching TV. All of these reactions, even the ones that feel like they're helping, are actually reinforcing the anxiety because they're all treating the thought as if it's a real threat that needs to be dealt with right now. But with Vipassana, something completely different happens. You have the thought, what if I fail at this project? And instead of immediately reacting, you observe it. You notice there's a thought about failing. You notice the physical sensations that come with that thought. Maybe there's a tightness in your stomach. Maybe your shoulders tense up. Maybe your breath becomes shallow. And you observe all of this with curiosity and equanimity. You don't try to make the thought go away. You don't try to change the sensations. You just watch them. And here's what's absolutely fascinating. When you observe anxiety without reacting to it, something amazing happens. The anxiety begins to dissolve on its own. This isn't magic. This is basic neuroscience. Your brain is constantly scanning for threats. When it detects something it thinks is dangerous, it activates your stress response. That's your anxiety. But your brain determines whether something is dangerous, partly based on how you react to it. If you react with fear, with avoidance, with intense problem-solving, your brain says, okay, this must be a real threat because look how strongly we're reacting to it. Better keep the alarm bells ringing. But if you observe the anxious thought and the accompanying sensations without reacting, without resistance, just with calm observation, your brain eventually says, we're having these thoughts and sensations, but we're not reacting like it's an emergency. Maybe this isn't actually dangerous after all, and the anxiety naturally diminishes. The Buddha described this with a powerful metaphor. He said that our normal relationship with our thoughts and sensations is like being shot with an arrow and then shooting ourselves with a second arrow. The first arrow is the actual unpleasant experience, the anxious thought, the uncomfortable sensation. We don't always have control over that first arrow. Life shoots us with first arrows all the time, but the second arrow is our reaction to the first arrow. It's our resistance, our judgment, our story-making about what the first arrow means. And here's the thing. The second arrow usually causes more suffering than the first one. The original anxious thought might cause a moment of discomfort, but our reaction to it, our catastrophizing, our rumination, our attempts to control and fix and avoid, that creates hours or days or even years of suffering. Vipassana teaches you to stop shooting yourself with the second arrow. You learn to let the first arrow be there without adding the second one. And when you stop adding that second arrow, when you stop reacting to your anxiety with more anxiety, something profound happens. The anxiety starts to lose its power. It's still there, you can still observe it, but it no longer controls you. It no longer dictates your behavior. It becomes just another sensation, like the feeling of your feet on the ground or the sound of traffic outside. It's present, but it's not a problem. It's not a. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds like you're just teaching people to accept their anxiety and not do anything about it. Isn't that just giving up? This is a common misunderstanding, and it's important to clarify. Observing your anxiety with equanimity is not the same as resigning yourself to it or giving up on changing your life. In fact, it's the opposite. When you're constantly reacting to your anxiety, you're stuck in a reactive mode. You're making decisions based on fear. You're avoiding things that might actually be good for you. You're exhausting yourself with worry. But when you observe your anxiety without reacting to it, you create space, you create the ability to respond wisely rather than react automatically. You can still take action, but you're taking action from a place of clarity rather than a place of panic. Let me share how this practice actually works in real life, because theory is one thing, but application is everything. The formal practice of Vipassana typically involves sitting meditation, where you systematically observe sensations throughout your body. You might start by noticing the sensation of breath at your nostrils, the slight coolness as air enters, the warmth as it exits. Then you expand your awareness to observe sensations in different parts of your body. Maybe there's tingling in your hands, maybe there's tension in your shoulders, maybe there's warmth in your belly. The practice is to observe all of these sensations with equanimity, without trying to change them, without judging them as good or bad. When your mind wanders, which it will constantly, you simply notice that your mind has wandered and gently bring your attention back to observing sensations. This might sound simple, but it's actually quite challenging at first. Your mind is used to reacting. It's used to judging. It's used to trying to control everything. So when you first start practicing Vipassana, you'll probably notice just how reactive your mind is. You'll observe a pleasant sensation and notice your mind immediately trying to hold on to it, wanting more of it. You'll observe an unpleasant sensation and notice your mind immediately trying to push it away, trying to make it stop. This is normal. This is what minds do. The practice is just to observe this pattern without judging it. Now here's where this practice becomes incredibly powerful for anxiety specifically. When you sit down to practice Vipassana, your anxiety will often show up. You'll have anxious thoughts. You'll feel the physical sensations of anxiety in your body, the tight chest, the churning stomach, the racing heart. And in the context of this practice, you treat these anxious sensations exactly the same way you treat any other sensation. You observe them with equanimity. You notice there's tightness in the chest. There's a thought about something going wrong. There's a sensation of churning in the stomach. And you don't do anything about it. You don't try to fix it. You don't try to understand it. You don't try to make it go away. You just observe it. And this is where the magic happens. As you observe these anxiety sensations with equanimity, you start to notice something remarkable. The sensations change. They're not solid and permanent like they seem when you're caught up in them. They actually fluctuate. The tightness in your chest might intensify for a moment, then it softens a bit. The racing thoughts might speed up, then slow down. The churning in your stomach might move to a different location or change in intensity. Everything is constantly changing, constantly in flux. And as you observe this directly, you start to realize at a deep experiential level that your anxiety is not this solid, permanent thing that you have to battle. It's just a series of changing sensations and thoughts that come and go like waves in the ocean. This realization is liberating in a way that's hard to describe until you experience it yourself. When you deeply understand that your anxiety is impermanent, that it's constantly changing, that it arises and passes away moment by moment, it loses its grip on you. You stop being afraid of your anxiety because you've seen directly that it's not dangerous, it's just uncomfortable. And you've learned that you can observe discomfort without reacting to it. The scientific research on Vipassana and anxiety is quite compelling. Studies have shown that regular Vipassana practice leads to measurable changes in the brain. The amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, becomes less reactive. The prefrontal cortex, which is involved in rational decision-making and emotional regulation, becomes more active. In other words, your brain literally rewires itself through this practice. You're not just learning a coping technique, you're actually changing the neural pathways that create anxiety in the first place. One study followed people who completed a 10-day Vipassana retreat and found significant reductions in anxiety and depression that lasted for months afterward. I want to share a personal experience that really brought this home for me. I was on a Vipassana retreat, maybe 5 or 6 days in, and I was having intense anxiety. My mind was creating all kinds of stories about things that might go wrong in my life, and I was practicing observing these sensations with equanimity, but it was hard. The anxiety felt so real, so urgent. And then something shifted. I was observing the tightness in my chest, just watching it, and suddenly I saw clearly that this tightness was just sensation. It wasn't bad. It wasn't dangerous. It was just physical sensation. And the thoughts were just thoughts, just mental events passing through awareness. In that moment, the anxiety didn't disappear, but the suffering around it dissolved completely. I was experiencing the sensations, but I wasn't suffering. I was okay. Everything was okay. Not because my circumstances had changed, but because my relationship to my experience had fundamentally shifted. That's the promise of Vipassana. Not that you'll never feel anxiety again, but that you'll learn to be with anxiety in a way that doesn't create suffering. You'll learn to observe it, to let it be there without making it into a problem. And when you can do that, when you can truly observe your experience with equanimity, anxiety really can't survive in the way it used to. It might arise, but it won't take over. It won't control you. It won't define you. It will just be another passing experience in the vast space of awareness that you are. If you're interested in trying this practice, I encourage you to look into attending a 10-day Vipassana retreat. These retreats are offered around the world and are usually free, operating on a donation basis. They're intensive, yes, but they provide the ideal environment to learn this practice properly. You'll receive detailed instruction, you'll have many hours each day to practice, and you'll be in an environment specifically designed to support your observation of the mind. But even if you can't do a retreat right away, you can start practicing now. Sit down for even 10 or 15 minutes a day and practice observing sensations in your body with equanimity. Notice when your mind wanders and gently bring it back to observing sensations. Don't judge yourself. Don't expect dramatic results immediately. Just practice observing and let the practice work on you gradually. Anxiety has been a part of human experience for as long as humans have existed. But our modern world, with its constant stimulation, its emphasis on productivity and achievement, its 24/7 news cycle of things to worry about, has taken anxiety to new levels. More people than ever are struggling with anxiety disorders. But here's the hopeful truth. The solution isn't in some new technology or medication, though those can certainly help. The solution has been available for over 2,000 years. The Buddha discovered it through careful observation of his own mind. And now, with the support of modern neuroscience validating what ancient practitioners have known all along, we can say with confidence that this practice works. Vipassana really does change your relationship with anxiety in a profound and lasting way. It's not easy. It requires commitment and practice. But if you're tired of being controlled by anxiety, if you're ready to try something radically different, this ancient practice might be exactly what you're looking for. Thank you for watching.